The four Marciano brothers shared a single small cot inside a synagogue kitchen in the city of Marseille. Yet they transformed that grinding poverty into a massive $4 billion empire that revolutionized the global denim industry. Before internal warfare eventually tore their family apart, please comment legacy if you value the bonds of unity and the strength of a family that builds together today. Building a fashion empire requires a rare combination of creative vision and the absolute ability to convince the world that your aesthetic matters more than comfort or practicality. But sustaining that empire requires a capacity to resolve conflicts without resorting to total warfare or the destruction of family trust, which the brothers eventually lost. The brothers discovered they could not inhabit it simultaneously. The Marciano brothers believed that denim was not merely a functional American work garment, but a canvas for European sophistication and high fashion aspiration that could be sold at a massive premium to the mainstream. This core belief contradicted the entire clothing industry of the 1980s, which viewed jeans as basic utility. They reframed the industry by selling a lifestyle dream. They proved that American denim could be sexy, European, and deeply aspirational through their first major design, known as the Marilyn jean, which featured 3 zippers to accommodate an impossibly tight fashion fit that manufacturers had never thought to deliver to customers who wanted to look sophisticated rather than merely being comfortable and practical. This was a radical proposition for the denim market. This strategic philosophy focused on the soul of the brand as an engine of desire rather than clothing. They understood that people do not buy jeans, but they buy the confidence and the glamour associated with the iconic black and white imagery they created together. By reframing denim as a luxury product, they captured margins that were previously unimaginable for a basic garment. The soul of the Guess brand was built on this European perspective of the American dream, which they translated into a visual language that transcended national borders. They ignored the conventional wisdom of the fashion houses and focused on creating a technical moat of brand identity that relied on emotion and high fashion prestige. This approach allowed them to dominate the global markets. The financial engine of the Guess empire was a machine built on the power of brand equity and the strategic use of licensing to capture massive margins. By the year 2000, the company generated nearly $800 million in revenue and employed thousands of workers across multiple continents in a global system that reached over 1,300 diverse retail locations. Today, the machine was fueled by operating leverage, where the fixed costs of marketing and design were spread across a rapidly expanding global retail footprint, including flagship stores in major cities and factory outlets that moved merchandise. This allowed them to maintain a prestige image while maximizing the volume of sales across various price points. Their financial engine was designed for total market dominance. In the year 1987, the company established itself as one of the fastest-growing fashion entities in America by generating $100 million in net profit, while maintaining an aura of total exclusivity. They deliberately limited their distribution to upscale department stores to justify the premium pricing that fueled their growth and created a massive cash flow for the brothers. Their licensing deals for watches and accessories generated tens of millions of dollars annually, proving that the brand equity could be translated into multiple product categories successfully. Guess watches alone sold $60 million in 90 and topped $100 million just 4 years later. This diversification created a financial machine that was resilient to the fluctuations of the core denim retail market. However, the financial machine faced a major burden when the brothers were forced to borrow $210 million from banks to finance the exit of their eldest brother Georges in the year 93. This massive debt forced the fateful decision to take the company public in 96 to raise capital. This transition would change the nature of their wealth. The IPO exposed the family business to shareholder scrutiny and quarterly earnings pressure. which moved the focus from long-term vision to short-term financial performance levels. The brothers had to manage a complex balance sheet while their personal relationships began to fracture under the weight of public disclosure and the demands of governance. The financial machine became a public entity with burdens. The crucible of the Marciano brothers began in the harsh poverty of post-war France, where 4 sons of a rabbi shared a single bed while their father worked in the synagogue to provide for them. This humble beginning forged a ruthless discipline that would later define their approach to global business and competition. They carried traditions of religious observance and entrepreneurial necessity. Their first major failure was not a lack of sales, but a total collapse of trust with their partners, the Nakash family, who owned the Jordache brand. A 7-year legal war ensued that consumed $80 million in legal fees and 300,000 documents, while the brothers fought to regain total control. The litigation sprawled across courtrooms in California and Hong Kong. This dark night of the soul taught the brothers that an external partner could become a threat to the intellectual property of the family brand if the governance structures were not clearly defined from the start. They analyzed this failure to build a moat of absolute control that few competitors could ever hope to. They fought to undo the partnership entirely for years. I would love to hear about your own experiences with major setbacks or professional failures in the comments. Do you believe that a crucible is necessary to build a durable system of wealth, or can success be achieved without the pain of a major defeat? We value your perspective on the resilience of systems and how failure can be used as a foundation. The brothers eventually regained control, but the victory was hollow, as the 7 years of legal warfare distracted them from the operational excellence required for global growth. They learned that internal conflict is the greatest threat to the machine they had built in their youth. The crucible of litigation left scars on their relationships that would never fully heal despite their massive wealth. They emerged from the Nakash War with a newfound understanding of the treacherous transition from private to public. This experience informed their later decisions to privatize the company and protect the brand from external interference levels. The moat they built was made of legal protections and a ruthless commitment to the family name above. The crucible defined the architecture of their future legacy. The competitive moat that protected Guess was the creative genius of Paul Marciano, who personally oversaw every advertisement with the attention of a master auteur, creating campaigns that launched supermodel careers and established an aesthetic that was impossible to replicate without the same level of obsessive detail and a deep understanding of human desire. The imagery defined the brand in the public mind. This moat was widened by a strategic distribution network that prioritized prestige over volume, allowing the brand to remain aspirational even as it reached a global scale. The brothers understood that once a luxury brand becomes too accessible, it loses the very thing that allows it to command a premium price in the denim market. They protected their margins by controlling the supply chain. Their secret sauce was the ability to blend the ruggedness of American denim with the sophistication of European style, creating a product that felt timeless and modern. This unique value proposition was protected by a fortress of licensing agreements and intellectual property protections that made it difficult for fast fashion competitors to ever catch. The brand aesthetic became a global standard for denim. Paul Marciano personally oversaw the selection of every model and the composition of every frame in their campaigns. This level of involvement ensured that the brand's soul remained consistent across multiple decades of global fashion shifts. The competitive moat was not just a product, but a visual world that consumers wanted to inhabit daily. The imagery became a durable asset for the family. By focusing on the allure of the supermodel and the European lifestyle, they created a psychological moat that competitors could not penetrate with lower prices or trends. The brand represented a membership in a glamorous world that felt authentic to the brothers' origins in Marseille. This connection to their own history provided a depth that generic denim brands lacked in their marketing efforts. The moat also included a highly efficient supply chain that could deliver quality at scale through Hong Kong. The relationship with the Nakash brothers provided the infrastructure that allowed guests to meet the exploding demand quickly. Even after the partnership dissolved, the brothers retained the knowledge and the networks required to manufacture global denim. The supply chain was an invisible part of the god. As the fashion industry entered the digital age, the brothers had to adapt their strategy to remain relevant in a world where data began to dominate creativity. They used retail expansion and brand licensing to pivot into new markets while maintaining the core identity that had made them a household name in the 80s. They moved from flagship stores to digital retail systems. In the year 2026, the brand reached a new milestone when it went private in a $1.4 billion deal with Authentic Brands Group. This strategic move was designed to resolve the public scrutiny and legal issues that had plagued the family for over 2 decades of constant legal warfare. They recognized that the brand needed a stable home. This privatization allowed the remaining family members to retain a portion of the intellectual property while moving the operations into a more stable environment for the future. It was a strategic pivot that recognized the need to protect the brand from the volatility of the public markets and the damage of personal misconduct allegations. The move was based on long-term brand preservation. Please subscribe to Old Money Habits 7 for more strategic deep dives into the systems of the wealthy and how they build and destroy their own legacies. Our channel is a hub for those who value the discipline and the systems required to maintain a high level of wealth across multiple generations of time. We analyze the fine print behind the famous names. The adaptation into the digital era required a new level of data sophistication that the brothers implemented slowly. They realized that the supermodel campaigns needed to be supplemented with digital marketing that could reach younger consumers. The transition was difficult for an organization built on the singular vision of an auteur like Paul Marciano, but they pivoted to survive in the new landscape. Their expansion into global markets like China and India showed that the Guess aesthetic was a universal language. They used data to identify the most lucrative regions and placed their stores with a surgical precision levels. The adaptation was not just about survival, but about ensuring that the financial engine continued to run smoothly. They turned the brand into a global digital presence. The legacy of the Marciano family is a cautionary tale about the total failure of family governance and the destructive power of the individual ego in business. Despite building a $4 billion empire, the brothers failed to build a constitution that could resolve their conflicts without resorting to the destruction of their trust. They stopped being a family who ran a company. Georges, the eldest brother, cashed out for over $200 million, but eventually lost his fortune to a massive defamation judgment that forced him into involuntary bankruptcy. This loss included his Beverly Hills mansion and his collection of Ferraris, proving that even a billion-dollar stake can be eroded by a lack of personal discipline. His story is a warning about the volatility of the brothers stopped being a family who ran a company and became former partners who could not even occupy the same room together for over 8 years. This fracture is a direct result of failing to implement a meritocratic succession plan that separated the family emotions from the requirements of the corporate financial system. The lack of governance led to a spectacular fracture. I am curious to hear your views on whether a family business should be run as a meritocracy or if inheritance should always dictate who holds the operational command in the comments section below today. Do you think the Marciano story proves that family and business should never be mixed in the same? We look forward to your perspective on this issue. Paul Marciano faced his own reckoning when allegations of misconduct emerged in the year 2018 through social. This led to a board investigation and his stepping down as chairman while he remained as creative officer. The family name was permanently tarnished by these public allegations, which impacted the stock price and brand image. Personal conduct eventually affects the global corporate reputation always. The governance of a billion-dollar entity requires a level of personal discipline that the brothers often lacked. Their internal wars and public scandals eroded the wealth they had built together from a synagogue in France. The legacy they left behind is one of fracture. rather than the unity they projected in their advertisements. Governance is the soul of any durable family legacy. The architectural synthesis of the Marciano story reveals that wealth is a result of vision, but durability is a result of system and the capacity for compromise. The brothers built a world-class brand, but they failed to build a world-class family governance structure, which ultimately led to their spectacular and painful decline. Their wealth reached $4 billion, but then it shrunk. From a historical perspective, we recommend that any family building a major legacy must prioritize the creation of a clear corporate constitution that defines roles and responsibilities. This must be done before the wealth becomes large enough to trigger the destructive impulses of the ego and the desire for total dominance over other members. Discipline is the key to maintaining a lasting legacy. This content is for educational and reference purposes only, and should not be taken as financial or medical advice of any kind. We are analyzing the strategic decisions of the wealthy to improve our own lives together through the cited application of discipline and the study of the systems that create a lasting human legacy. We focus on the habits of the global elite. We are grateful for your time and your participation in this community of strategic thinkers and legacy builders. Let us learn from the triumphs and the fractures of the Marciano family to build our own lives on a foundation of trust and a system that can survive the pressures of the modern world today. We thank you for joining us for another episode. The $4 billion fortune may have shrunk, but the lessons it provides are worth even more to those who seek to build something that truly lasts. Thank you for joining us on this journey of analysis, and may your own systems of wealth and discipline bring you the security and the peace desired. We look forward to building a better life together. As we look at the history of old money, it is clear that the invisible structures are what protect the visible assets from the forces of decay. The Marciano brothers forgot this fundamental rule and paid a high price in both wealth and family connection. Stay focused on the system, and the results will be a legacy that lasts for many generations ahead.